Hey, welcome back to Stella Talks. I'm Stella Brooks, and today's story starts with one word. One word a mayor said on camera in front of a cheering crowd that may have cost thousands of Seattle workers everything. The word was bye. At a Seattle University event in April, Mayor Katie Wilson was asked about Starbucks investing $100 million in Nashville and moving 2,000 jobs there. Her response? I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown. And if the ones that leave, like, bye, she waved. The crowd cheered. She laughed. Within weeks, Starbucks filed formal layoff notices with the state of Washington. Hundreds of workers, people with decades inside that company, started receiving termination letters. And the mayor who laughed is now quietly walking it back. This is what happens when a government declares war on the business feeding its city. And the people caught in the crossfire are not millionaires. They are workers. Stay with me. Before we go further, has your city's leadership ever dismissed a major employer this casually? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're new here, subscribe. Stella Talks exists for exactly this kind of story. Starbucks was born in Seattle, Pike Place Market, 1971. For over 50 years, it was the city's most iconic corporate citizen. At its peak, Starbucks employed roughly 3,000 workers at its Seattle headquarters, making it one of the city's most significant corporate anchors. Then the restructuring began. In October 2025, Starbucks laid off 1,100 corporate employees globally, with more than 900 in Seattle and Kent. It closed the Reserve Roastery in Seattle's Soto neighborhood. Hundreds of stores were shuttered across Washington state. And then came the announcement nobody in Seattle wanted to hear. In early 2026, Starbucks confirmed it was investing $100 million in a new corporate office in Nashville, Tennessee, moving approximately 2,000 jobs there, including supply chain and technology teams previously based in Seattle. The Nashville hub could end up larger than what remains in Seattle, given ongoing layoffs and job transfers. A company born in Seattle, potentially headquartered in Nashville. And the mayor's response was a wave and a laugh. Let's talk about Mayor Katie Wilson's direct role in this, because the timeline is damning. Before Wilson was even sworn in, she stood at a Starbucks union rally and told the crowd, I am not buying Starbucks, and you should not either. She led protesters in chants. She called publicly for a boycott of Seattle's most iconic company before she had signed a single piece of legislation. That is not a policy disagreement. That is a mayor declaring herself an adversary of her own city's largest employer before day one. Seattle's tax structure was already one of the most aggressive in the country. The Jumpstart payroll tax charges businesses up to 2.4% on employees earning over $150,000. The city levies a business and occupation tax. And from 2026, businesses with employees making over $1 million face an additional 5% tax on those salaries. Wilson campaigned on expanding Jumpstart further and creating a local capital gains tax on top of all of that. Washington Policy Center's Ryan Frost ran the math. Bare minimum, Starbucks is going to save $250 million over the course of that 23-year Nashville lease compared to staying in Seattle. $250 million. That is what Seattle's tax environment cost in a single corporate relationship. And the mayor's answer was a boycott call. Now here is where the rumor mill starts spinning, and it is spinning hard. Multiple sources close to Seattle's business community say Starbucks executives had quiet conversations with city officials in early 2026 about what it would take to keep and grow their Seattle footprint. According to people briefed on those conversations, Wilson's team offered nothing. No tax relief, no incentives, no signal of goodwill. Nobody is putting that on record, but insiders say the Nashville decision accelerated sharply after that meeting. Meanwhile, Tennessee handed Starbucks a $30 million incentive package without blinking. When backlash over the buy comment intensified, Wilson admitted her boycott call caused more harm than good. Not an apology, not a policy change, a reframe. The jobs were already filed in a warn notice by then. John Scholes, president of the Downtown Seattle Association and a member of Wilson's own transition team, went public. Tone and tenor and words matter if you're leading a city. He warned Seattle's business climate was at a bit of a tipping point, and we should take nothing for granted. When your own transition team member says that on the record, it is not opposition politics. It is an alarm. Now the numbers, because this is where the buy becomes a body count. In May 2026, Starbucks filed warn notices confirming 252 layoffs tied to its Seattle support center. Layoffs begin July 17th and run through February 2027. The cuts include vice presidents, directors, and senior managers, the people who ran the company's Seattle operations. Those 252 follow 61 tech role eliminations the week before. The total restructuring is expected to generate $400 million in charges, including $120 million in employee separation costs alone. And here's the number that exposes everything. For the quarter ending March 29, 2026, Starbucks posted net earnings of $510.9 million, a 33% increase year over year. This is not a struggling company cutting desperately. This is a profitable company making a calculated decision that Nashville makes more financial sense than Seattle. That is not a corporate failure. That is a policy failure. Word circulating in Seattle commercial real estate circles, unconfirmed but coming from multiple property managers in SoDo, is that Starbucks has begun quietly winding down lease obligations at secondary Seattle facilities ahead of schedule. No press release, no announcement, just for lease signs being quietly prepared. The people managing buildings around that support center are already bracing for what comes next. Amazon has already shifted thousands of employees from Seattle to Bellevue in direct response to the Jumpstart tax, confirmed publicly by the Downtown Seattle Association. The pattern is not a theory. It is documented, ongoing, and accelerating. We are halfway through, and I want to hear from you. Do you think Seattle can turn this around, or has too much already left? Drop it in the comments right now, because what comes next is the part that I couldn't stop thinking about. This is what it actually looks like on the ground. A 21-year Starbucks veteran, laid off in the Nashville restructuring, spoke out publicly. He said the move to Nashville actually came with restructuring of roles, which led to layoffs. I was, unfortunately, one of those folks whose role was eliminated. Because of that, I was not even given the option to move to Nashville. 21 years, no option, just gone. He added, most people in Seattle don't want to move to Nashville. The math doesn't work for most of those workers. So the offer to relocate is not a lifeline for most. It is a formality before a termination letter. Downtown Seattle lost an estimated 13,000 jobs in 2025 alone, the steepest single-year decline since the pandemic. Office vacancy rates sit above 30% citywide. Seattle's Central Business District exceeds 32% vacancy. Some of downtown's most valuable towers have lost more than half their assessed value since 2021. A 32% vacancy rate is not a statistic. It is dark windows in buildings that used to be full by 8 a.m. It is the lunch spots in SoDo that built their entire business around Starbucks employees on a noon break, now serving half the customers they used to. The food truck owner, the dry cleaner, the coffee shop serving the people who made coffee famous. None of them called for a boycott. None of them set tax policy. They just showed up, and they are feeling every departure in their revenue, their payroll, and their ability to stay open. Washington's unemployment rate hit 5.1% in March 2026, continuing a steady upward trend throughout 2025 and into 2026, signaling what the state's own chief labor economist called an increasingly challenging labor market for job seekers. That is the official language. The unofficial version is that Seattle workers are scared. Wilson is now attempting a pivot, publicly embracing corporate partnerships while defending the Jumpstart tax. She told a recent forum that without Jumpstart, we would have been in a world of hurt during the pandemic. That may be true, but defending a tax that drove Amazon to Bellevue and Starbucks to Nashville is not a housing policy. It is an exit ramp for every major employer still left in the city. Starbucks has confirmed it will next examine its international support organization for additional layoffs, with no specific timeline yet disclosed. More cuts are coming, and each one chips further into the tax base Wilson needs to fund everything she promised. The pivot will not be enough, because the businesses already made their decision. The WARN notices are already filed, the Nashville leases are already signed, and the 21-year veteran is already unemployed. Starbucks did not leave Seattle because it ran out of ideas. It left because a mayor called for its boycott before she was even in office, built a tax wall around the city, and then laughed when the company chose the exit. And the workers holding termination letters today are the real cost of that laugh. If your mayor is treating your city's major employers as adversaries, bookmark this. Seattle just showed you exactly where that road ends. Can Seattle recover, or is too much already gone? Tell me in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Every day on Stella Talks, we follow the money governments hope you never find. I'll see you in the next one.